Waiting for confirmation, and it did start. Yep. Okay. Welcome, everyone. 2:00 UK time. Packed agenda as usual. And I see Joe with us. Very good. So sigh of relief because we've got our presenter, guest of the day. And over to you, Mark.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to have to jump off pretty much immediately after I've done my introduction because today seems to be packed with Capital Link and shipping insights. So that has been brought forward annoyingly in insights. So I have to jump off. But I just wanted to update everybody on where we are on the standard or the general principles, as we call them, including the assessment element of that. Also our SMI supplement, and then after that this call for one voice in shipping, which we as InterManager are taking a pretty much a lead on. Starting off with the standard, Kuba and I have just received back the latest draft, which we want to sort of polish before we get it back to the drafting committee, but it is going well. The drafting committee have done a sterling job in getting to where we are, and I think the general principles will hopefully be in a condition to release and approve and circulate to a wider forum, and I'm not sure we'll get to approve them before the AGM, but pretty soon thereafter, I would imagine. But it's going to be a really nice document and something that we can all feel proud of. There was a debate, and for the sake of transparency, there has been a debate on whether those general principles should be open to audit, that terrible word for all of us, or the lesser assessment, and whether that assessment should take the form of a self-assessment or an external assessment or a bit of the two. And we had a very fair and open and candid debate on that. I personally have the view that the shipping industry will not take these general principles seriously unless we open ourselves up and show ourselves to be opening ourselves up to external assessment for joining members and periodical external assessment for existing members. And this assessment is not to catch out and throw out, it's really to afford guidance on where each and every one of us can improve on the various general principles. And it will be very much a light touch, and it is only in circumstances in which something is going drastically wrong that they will come back to the ExCom, and the ExCom will then require action to be taken. But I think the industry requires, for credibility purposes, some form of assessment, and not only self-assessment, which is the most important, but also external assessment. And we've had a good debate, and drafting committee and ExCom will vote on that. I had a very good debate with David yesterday as well. I think we're aligned on whether it's a need for assessment or not, but the importance of an assessment by an external party. And the question is what form that will take. And that will be the subject of a separate detailed debate. We just have to agree it in principle, first of all. So all going well. Kuba and I will polish the latest draft. As always, these things slow down when they hit my desk, but I will try and get it devote time and attention to this, and then discuss it with Kuba as well. And we should get that done and dusted in the near future. Next thing, SMI, the extra supplement that we're putting in the SMI magazine, electronic magazine, to celebrate our 30 years, but also the first of a quarterly supplement. It looks really good. Kuba, I don't know what you, we saw a draft version. Kuba's come back with a few comments on page numberings, etc., but this will be circulated. It looks really, really good, actually, and very pleased with it. Bob Jack, who has been commissioned by Elaborate and Sean's team to do this, done a great job, and it looks very professional, I think, anyway. Kuba, I don't know about you. The articles are really well written. People have devoted a lot of time and effort into doing this, and it's excellent. I think it's something we can all be proud of, and it is the first, so it's you'll get to see that. Everyone will get to see that shortly. It is the first. There'll be improvements going forward, but it shows us in our industry and our membership in the best possible light. Last point is one voice. I was on a panel a few days ago, organized to discuss this, and we had all of the sort of NGO representatives, but also other interest groups discussing this need for a one voice. And I was very open. I said, I don't care whether it's who is that one voice. Probably ICS is the most legitimate to be the one voice, Guy Platten, but we need this one voice because otherwise we're all going to be singing off different song sheets and in the interests of our members. It is, I think there was an article today about it in Tradewinds. I haven't seen it, but it is something that is growing in momentum. And I think we can be proud of the fact that we, in some shape or form, restarted it. It's an old argument, and I think Kuba reminds me that someone started this a long time ago. It is an old argument. It never got traction, but we do need it as an industry to deal with the macro issues that are not finding their way in a single focused manner to the regulators and to the governments and to the international bodies. So one voice, that is going to pick up momentum. It doesn't have to be InterManager. Like InterManager doesn't have to solve the COVID, the vaccine problem, but we are an interest group. We're a very important interest group, and we need to be making our opinion and our voices heard to bring about change. And if we have in some small part establish the one voice, then we will have served our membership and I think the shipping community well. So that is picking up momentum as we speak. And I've got a meeting on Thursday, a telephone call or Teams meeting with Guy Platten to discuss just what we believe the one voice should deal with and what issues the one voice should deal with. And one voice can be made up of a number of different people at a number of different venues and interacting with different governmental authorities, but it is a single message. It can be delivered by different people, but that one voice must be the same message, and each NGO or each initiative must be delivering that same message time and time again. So that's all I've got. Thanks very much, Kuba, and I'll watch the recording straight after I finish this other thing. But have a good meeting.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Enjoy, Mark. And as far as I'm concerned, and my update for you, ladies and gentlemen, is our AGM. I went to executive committee seeking advice whether we should be doing that face-to-face or rather online. And I think it's pretty good, and we will be doing the hybrid. So those people who are in Cyprus and ready to travel to Cyprus will do come, and the rest will join us online. AGM, for those of you who are not necessarily very familiar with that, it's usually a very simple and quick proceedings, 40 minutes, 45 minutes. But because we are all there, then we usually do some sort of a seminar on top of that, and we've got executive committee meeting. So it's usually a half-day affair, and because we've got 30th anniversary, then it will be topped up with a dinner. Colombia kindly advised, and we've got a very nice venue in Cyprus, and it will be in a hotel, and I will be circulating the details and everything. Having said that, I'm still waiting, and please forgive me, I will be bombarding you now, probably one-to-one messages saying that I still have not received your declaration whether you are coming or not, because I really need to know the numbers in order to book the room properly and book the menu and everything. But it looks like we are doing the hybrid. It will be half day as far as I'm concerned. So we'll probably start 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon and carry on until 9, 10 in the evening, because we will include dinner. And there will be majority of people attending will be from Cyprus, and with some people flying in. Just on SMI extra supplement, I would like to add to what Mark was saying, that I am really, really pleased with the response we had. A response from the previous past presidents, but also from other companies, and your support as far as sponsoring is concerned make it very, very worthwhile. We also received a lot of testimonials and thanks and congratulations on our 30th. I especially like ICS when they say from 100 years old to 30 years old, and so on and so forth. But it's nice. It's really, really good stuff. So I've seen it. I like it. I hope you will like it too. Not too long before we will start sending it over to you. I would like to pause for a second because I was talking about this AGM and doing a hybrid. Any questions, any comments, any suggestions on this one? I'm watching whether we've got any yellow hands. Anybody would like to add something? No. No. Okay. As far as update from me regarding vaccination and COVID, there is nothing really which I could update you over the last 2 weeks, except the fact that we are still working very, very hard together with all NGOs and countries, flag states, on very dynamic situation. But there is no change, substantial change, which you need to know. So you probably haven't seen any pooling resources messages from me because there was nothing to report, basically. And members seem to be quiet as well. Not much development in any area. Vaccination seems to be going as it is, and travel is going as it is. And I'm pausing for a second as well. No, there's nothing to add to that. So that's basically all from me and Joe. And yeah, I think we are ready for you and your presentation. So take over the
Wonderful.
screen and please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Cooper. Well, firstly, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to share this with the forum. For those who don't know me, my name's Joe Pitcher. I'm Director of Sales at Global Marine Travel, based in Florida, but we have offices around the world and all in most key crewing locations as well, servicing the marine community. I also wanted to introduce Chris Podolsky, who's our Global Head of Sales and North America General Manager. Chris is going to give a overview of GMT and what we do, and then I'm going to have a little bit of a dive into our Fly to Sea online booking tool, which has really changed the shape of how crew managers and those responsible for signing guys on and off the vessels engage with travel. So firstly, I'll hand over to Chris.
Thanks, Joe. And before I kick off, I see there is a hand up. So, Kuba, I don't know if you want to take that.
Oh, thank you very much. Because yes, indeed, Yusuf, you've got a question. So please go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, but I was struggling to get the raising hand when you asked the question whether anyone has a comment on COVID. Kuba, just recently we had to evacuate a crew member from one of our vessels with suspected COVID. And one thing that hit me is the crew, initially when they saw the symptoms, obviously they went to what we are trained to do. That is to go to the captain's medical guide. And they missed the diagnosis of COVID as a result of that. So I don't know, have we seen any attempt to update the captain's medical guide with respect to COVID?
Correct. And let me check, because I think we've got the intermediate guidelines, and there is an update on the medical guide as well. And I know that hasn't been approved yet because it takes ages. But meantime, some things were put into interim. So let me come back to everybody on this one. I think we might have it already on our website. And if not, then I will get it, because I know that I have been participating in a meeting and discussing that. And that's why I think it has not been finished, signed off yet. So yes, homework for me. I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chris, for spotting it and allowing me to chip in back. So Chris, over to you.
Thank you, Kuba. And again, thank you to everybody at InterManager. I've certainly learned quite a bit over the past year attending these calls, and it certainly has really proven the value of the organization in my mind. So just a quick overview of GMT, Global Marine Travel, and then Joe's going to actually dive right into it, and you'll see the meat of the matter in front of you. So GMT was founded in 2001 by Tim Davey, who's still our managing director, still leads the company. Full disclosure, we are part of V Group Marine Services portfolio since 2018. So a marriage that's 3 years old now. We're all very happy, doing very well with it. GMT, we operate a global travel platform with brick and mortar offices in the United States, Canada, Philippines, Monaco, US, India, and Greece, and have a virtual presence in a half dozen other countries, including the Ukraine, Singapore, and other locations in Europe, meaning that we have people working from there, but without actually working from an office. They're virtual. Joe mentioned that as you can hear from that roll call, we are ideally situated in the places where we're needed for the marine industry. GMT divisions and offices.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah.
You don't have any slides? I thought then you do, because you're not showing
Yes.
them.
We're gonna launch into that in just a minute. It's not actually slides. You're actually going to see a live demo, a live fire exercise in just one moment. I'm just going to prattle on just another minute or two here, Kuba explaining who we are, and then Joe's going to dive into that. So we operate in many different sectors, including commercial shipping, offshore cruise, shipyards, surveyors, and engineering, as well as corporate travel within the maritime community. So the tool Joe's going to show you, and I think it's safe to just start pulling it up, Joe. And just the last thing I want to say on it is that over the years, Joe and I in travel have seen we've been part of many different initiatives to develop online booking platforms to help digitalize the marine industry. Collectively, I would say Joe and I probably looked at scores of these over the years, and the one that Joe is going to be showing you is our Fly to Sea platform. It's, we believe, the best mousetrap out there. The difference between, you may ask, the Fly to Sea and every other platform you've seen that ostensibly books travel for marine mariners. Very key differentiators. I'm just going to cover them and let you digest them as we dive into it, and then Joe shows them to you. This will seamlessly integrate with virtually any HR system at little to no cost in hard capital or client resources. So it costs you nothing. The search functionality simultaneously searches 4 different GMT IATA locations to return marine, published, and even low-cost carriers. So it's searching through 4 different offices to return the results. The user in one session can book multiple on-signers from multiple origins to the vessel and book the return flights for off-signers from the vessel to their destinations, all in one session. It also allows the user to change or cancel existing bookings made on the platform in just a few simple steps. So I'm going to stop talking and let Joe actually show you what I just described.
Okay, Cooper, I have my stopwatch on. I'm conscious of the time. And what I'm going to do for everybody is give you an overview of how you actively engage with the system. It's very straightforward. My team are available at any point to go into a deeper dive presentation and demo with you, but just want to show you how this works. And so what we want to do is do a crew change. Okay, we're going to change one guy as an off-signer and put one guy on as an on-signer. Okay, so the crew change date is 30th of October. Now, the vessel's in Rotterdam. So that's the first part of the system that's very, very intuitive. Okay, so I'm going to put in Rotterdam. Okay, so that's the crew change airport. As you can see, the first thing that the system does is notify us that you've selected Rotterdam Airport, but it recommends a larger airport nearby, as this is aimed at primarily international travel on and off signers. The system knows that if you're repatriating someone, the likelihood is it's going to be from Amsterdam rather than Rotterdam. But you can obviously book Rotterdam if that's your preferred location. And this works in lots of locations around the world. Now, everybody's familiar with the Amsterdam-Rotterdam region, and it's fairly intuitive that we would know to book Amsterdam. But if you're doing crew changes in slightly less familiar places, it gives you this option, okay? And it enables the crew manager, whoever's booking the travel through Fly to Sea, to look at available airports and what's most practical for the crew change. So we will select Amsterdam, okay? Now, the vessel name goes in, the flag, okay, and now this is where we get to the on and off signers. So who's going on to the ship? It's the on signers coming from Manila, okay? It lists it gives you the option for all Manila airports, including Clark. So we're just going to click all airports. Ninoy Aquino is probably going to come up as is default, and the off signer is going to Delhi, okay? All this crew change is happening on the 30th of October. So now it's searching flights. And as Chris says, this is checking 4 of our IATA licenses across the world in case there's any disparity in what the airlines are offering based on those locations. So it ensures that you as the end user are getting the best possible fare. Now, these are the returned results for the on-signer. So as you can see, it's laid out separately here. No crew booked so far, going to the ship and going home. Okay, so now we get to the interesting bit as to which fares are being offered. Now, you can see there's sorts here: price, departure time, and total flight duration. That's something that crew managers and other travel bookers want to consider. How long is it going to take to get the guys home or get the guys on board? Okay, irrespective of the fare. Now, it's set by price, and the cheapest price, as you can see here, is $289, and EY is Etihad. It shows you the schedule, departing Manila local time, transits Abu Dhabi. It also, as you hover over, it gives you the transit time and the arrival plus 1 day, 1305 Amsterdam, and also details of general availability. It never gives you perfect availability, but it gives you an indication of how wide open the flight is. It's fully refundable, and it's got a marine 40 kilo baggage allowance. You can also change the search to published fares, not only marine, so come up with published fares as well, so you can compare and contrast or put all in and filter by price or duration. Okay, but the marine fare is coming up much better. It's a very straightforward transit in Abu Dhabi, so we're going to book that. Okay, now we're putting in the passenger information. Another good feature of Flight to Sea is it keeps details of previous booked crew, and as Chris says, it links in with HR systems as well. So all this data, you can avoid a lot of repetition. One of the fundamentals about the system is we're trying to cut down, we're trying to shorten the lines of communication. So we want to make the booking process as swift and as low touch as possible. Okay, so we check all the information. As you can see, it's giving you the fare, the details of the ticket, baggage allowance, and we've got a new box here, visa required, check. Now, this is important as well because this gives the information to the crew manager or to the travel booker as to what visas are required. So there's two destinations here. There's one transit in the UAE and also arrival in the Netherlands. All this information is taken from Thematic, which is the travel industry's default database on visa and immigration requirements for locations. So we're going to book that. And that's all you've needed to do to make that booking for the on-signer. Okay, now we've got the passenger locator. We can download on PDF the booking. So this can be shared out to non-users. That can be emailed to the vessel. And we've got all the flight details there. So now we're going to go back and do the off-signer. The off-signer is going to...
1 second, as Joe's doing that, just wanted to jump in and say there was at the bottom there a blue bar that said add another passenger. If you wanted to, you could continue adding crew members on that same routing to that same flight variation that was booked. So Joe will show you on this step as well. You could just keep adding up to 9 passengers. So you could have 9 crew now coming from that origin to that turnover port. Carry on, Joe.
Exactly. So the off-signer is going to Delhi. So we're sorting by price at the moment. The lowest fare coming in is $807, and that's a published fare. It's non-refundable, 2 pieces of baggage, but we want to look at a marine fare. And as you can see, we changed it to a similar fare. This is on Qatar, fully refundable, with a change in Doha. As you hover over it, it's got an exclamation mark over the change airport, so it gives you an idea that there's a long connection here and a night at the airport. This is really useful information that otherwise would have taken quite a number of emails backwards and forwards to resolve or highlight. And as you can see here, we've got a new box here saying requires approval. Now, one of the interesting features of the system is you can set approval levels. Okay, so if anything is over, and that's something that the user decides for themselves. If you want to set anything over 750, requires some internal approval before booking, then you set that. And what it does is once this is, you can make the booking, but it automatically generates an approval email that simply needs to be clicked, approve or not, to the appropriate approver. So this flight, Amsterdam, Delhi, coincidentally, passenger shares the same name, passport details as the previous one. So now we're going to request approval. Okay. that will automatically send an email to me as I'm the approver, but it is actually booked. You're holding a seat on that. We're just waiting for approval for ticketing. And as Chris said, you can add a new passenger there. Okay. But we won't do it for the purposes of time, but we're going to go. What I'm going to do now is I've made these bookings, so I'm going to check and see where they are in my bookings field. So management of the data is imperative here. So what the end user sees, the fly to sea license holder can look at all their pending bookings, whether as a group or as individuals, and see where they are. You can sort them by booking date, departure date, and until they're ticketed, and oftentimes after they're ticketed or one leg is ticketed, you can go in and you've got options to change. You've got the cancellation rules here. You can copy to the clipboard, but we want to change this booking because that's not a great fare, and we're going to have a look and see what else we can do on dates on and around that. Okay, so if we move dates either side, you can see other available bookings, but we're in a similar position here, but we have a difference in fare here that's been highlighted. Okay, but for the purposes of this exercise, we're going to maintain the original booking. Okay, now, whilst we're waiting approval for that, we can continue changing, amending the other flights, or we can cancel these. Again, part of the benefit of the system is to give the power back to the crew manager, to the travel booker. This would have taken a significant number of email exchanges to get to this point, but we've managed to make these bookings and effect a crew change within 10 minutes. But for cancellation, we simply click on the cancellation. The vessel's been diverted, the crew change is being postponed. So we click on cancel. There's no cancellation fees. There's no extra cost for cancelling this. The full amount of $289 will be refunded to you shortly. And we simply cancel. Okay, we can do the same with this, even though it's awaiting approval. It gives you the refund of unused ticket, fully refundable until 30th of April, non-refundable after. Okay, now, in terms of approval requests, they're listed here. So if you had a number, if you're doing multiple bookings, you can check and see what's pending. And if you need to chase that up, you can. Now, this is for crew changes. That's a one-on-one off, but you could do that with multiple, and you could do it, as you can see here, you can add routes and go to multiple destinations. If you've got multi-nationality crews, then you can facilitate this entire crew change, and you have it managed in one place. You're not managing or juggling numerous emails and trying to track the crew destinations with the travel agent. Also, what the system does is enables, this is listed as business trip here, but it enables you to do one-off either corporate or marine related travel. Say, for example, if you're putting engineers on board, if you're doing any sort of audit, if you want to get a superintendent out to the vessel. So say, for example, we've got somebody, an engineer, who's traveling from Romania, going to Miami. It's a short lead in time. They need to travel the week after next. We're going to book them a return date for the 12th of November. So it searches flights, but you also have the checkbox here to add marine flights. Okay, this gentleman, or the purpose of this trip is marine fare eligible. So we're going to check the box for marine flights. And the same principle applies. You've got company travel policy here. You can block out airlines that are on blacklists for you. You can limit the number of stops. You can limit the types of fares to marine, published, etc. So you get to see exactly what's available, both marine and published. Okay, and we can do that by departure time as well. Departure time is great, but there's 2 stops in Vienna and in Washington. So back to the bookings. We've got one booking here still pending, awaiting approval. We've cancelled the other booking, and fundamentally we've been able to facilitate a crew change in under 10 minutes. There's also an analytics feature here that we would give you some data on in a more in-depth demo, but you can filter by vessel, by the cost of the ticket, your average booking window in terms of days. This is very useful because if you feel that there's any procedural issues in terms of how short a lead-in people are making their crew changes or arranging crew changes, and there needs to be some sort of development of procedures to get people to book further out and make sure they're getting the better fares, then you've got you can see this by user, and you can see how the crewing teams are performing in terms of facilitating the crew changes. So that's fundamentally an overview of what Fly to Sea does. We can go into a lot more detail about the analytics, but Chris, do you have anything to add on this before we take questions? I'm just conscious of time.
Joe, I think you have a bit more time on the agenda as I look at it, but no, well done. The key here, as Joe mentioned, is that you can book multiple on-signers from different locations in different sizes of groups. You can book 5 people from one city, 8 people from another city, 5, 7, whatever the number is, all different cities into the turnover port, and then do the same for the off-signers. So to multiple destinations. So that really is set up in and designed with the interests of doing a crew rotation. It works very, very well for offshore. And the one thing that people ask very typically is, does it do anything other than the flights? And the answer is no. At the moment, we're not offering any cars or hotels or ferries or anything like that, or any ancillaries on this. This is simply a flight booking tool. But the beauty of this is, and anybody that's worked in a crewing environment knows the amount of emails that it takes to book, it's just to book one reservation. You have to send the request over, they send back multiple options, you look at it, you decide what it is you want, you okay 1 or 2 of them, and they send it back, you send it back to them, then they confirm it, they send it back to you. That's 4 emails just there, even before you've made a change to the booking. This allows you to make changes to the bookings on the fly. You can pull up any booking that hasn't been ticketed yet and simply go in and scrap the ticket or change the dates on the ticket, and it does it seamlessly in 3 clicks. We do have some videos on YouTube that walk through this process very quickly. Joe gave a little bit more context and background to it, but it is, as I said at the beginning, this is the best of these tools that I've ever seen in 30 plus years of looking at marine technology. So we're happy to share it with anybody in demo form to do a more in-depth, take it nice and slow, let you ask questions. The other thing that people ask very commonly is, what does this cost? There is no licensing fee. There is no startup costs. We can accept all of your crew data in an Excel spreadsheet. We can do that long-term or short-term. So if you want to try the system and don't want to do any type of integration at all, we can simply just easily load crew data in through an Excel spreadsheet, and you can start working on it that way. The only thing that GMT would require for you to start to use the system would be a commercial relationship. We'd have to set up an agreement of a simple agreement. And of course, if you're buying tickets, as most of our customers do, on an account receivable basis, we would have to go through the credit check process to get all of those I's dotted and T's crossed for the accountants to make sure that they're happy to set up the trading relationship. But that's basically it. You're off to the races within a week if you want to try the system.
Okay, so obviously I've got a few questions immediately, and I'm opening the floor for questions as well. I had a question regarding communication, because no brainer, it looks like it cuts on a lot of back and forth communication where the mistakes can happen actually. I also like your support by the system showing what is the closest airport, because we all heard about people flying to Newcastle, except it was Australia, not necessarily UK. Because we were doing crew changes. Look at Claude. Claude is already laughing, so we must have had this similar situation. I bet Claude was sent because I was sent to the wrong airport, and then surprise, surprise, no agent waiting for me. But that's good. That's excellent. I like that. But the biggest issue I usually have with automated systems is if something goes wrong. So I'm going to grill you guys. Yes, I am booked. I've got your excellent PDF in my hand. I'm showing up and my flight is delayed, and that means I have missed my other flights. What support will your system give me? Will I call somebody in India, or will I be talking to Joe Pitcher, who is waking up 2 o'clock in the morning in the US? Tell me, how does system actually connect with human beings, interface here, when something goes terribly wrong?
Great.
Yeah, if you want, I'll take that one. So, yes, I prefer that you call Joe Pitcher at 2 o'clock in the morning just to keep him on his toes. And just anecdotally, I'm a travel agent, and many years ago, I sent myself to St. John's instead of St. John in Canada, which I learned when I arrived is nowhere near, they're nowhere near each other. So it happens to the best of us. That said, we are 24/7, 365. It's not just, we don't operate Global Marine Travel on the basis of having an after-hours service. We don't have an after-hours service. The reason we don't have an after-hours service is because we're always open. It's literally our strap line on for our company. We're always open. So there's two ways to tackle this, Kuba. When you arrive and you see that your flight's delayed, this is mobile enabled as well. So there is an app for that. You can simply go on and change your flight on the app. If you're not comfortable with that, or if you're not comfortable with any part of this after it's been booked, you can pick up the phone or email GMT and we will answer your calls. Where the call will go will be dependent upon which office your company has set the agreement with. As I said, we operate from a number of different travel centers. So if I have a client that's my client in North America and they're using Fly2C, we set them up with a full support system with our 24/7 service out of North America. So you'll always be talking to that same office, meaning that you have accountability for your account with that office and that general manager. If we set it up for you out of our office in Monaco, you again would be picking up the phone and dialing and reaching somebody in one of our Europe locations. Could be Glasgow, could be the UK, could be in London, it could be in Spain, could be any one of our folks that are working attached to our Monaco office, and they would service you and help you get you on your way. So the first rule of customer service is you give the customer what they want, not what you want to give them. So we have it set up so that you have full 24/7 human interaction.
Excellent, excellent. And I especially like that, you're thinking global but acting local when I can talk to the same person, because that is extremely important. I like that. Thank you for that. Okay, any other questions? I don't want to monopolize. Anybody from... Here we go. John, go ahead, please.
Yeah, hi, John Albrecht, Sovcomflot, LCF Management Services, 160 ships. Basically all Russian seafarers. So first question, of course, Russian language support 24/7.
We have a customer support center that attached, funny enough, to my group here in North America, where primarily our after hours are handled by a team that has at any given time up to 3 people working out of the Odessa office, our Odessa office. So we have Russian language speakers for support that would be able to help you.
Okay. The other one would be, how about COVID and visa requirements to board international flight, departure and arrival? Because traveling today is, of course, dependent on flights, but there's only one small part of the equation. So if you're not fully familiar with COVID requirements at the point of departure, part of arrival, transit, and also the visa requirements, especially for Russian seafarers, which is a headache, it's almost impossible even to start looking on flights.
Okay, so there's two part answer to that question. The first is the visa. The visa, Joe touched on it during the demo. You can, once you've put in the seafarer's nationality, you're able to check his visa requirements for that location. So the data source is Timatic, which is the one that the airlines, same system the airlines use and all the GDSs use. So the information that you would be seeing on visa requirements is exactly the same as the desk agents see at the airport. Now, with the onset of COVID and the changing regulations, Timematic has updated some of this information and continues to update this information when you check the visa service as well. So you will see some COVID in some cases, but it's not complete. And so in the world of COVID that we're living in right now, this is one of those things that we need to, you would need to check with a travel management company. And it's funny, you know, we've come full circle. A couple years ago before COVID, everybody was saying they didn't need travel agents anymore because they could do everything online. Now everybody needs our travel agent because we're the ones that are armed with the latest information. So to answer your question, John, for specific COVID requirements, this is something that you would check with your travel agent. In other words, please check with us. If there's any uncertainty, there's a myriad of wealth of information online that says what the requirements are.
So yes, so
just
to let you know, the way we do it today, because we have 6,000 seafarers, right? Mm-hmm. So when we start booking and we have a firm crew change scheduled somewhere, we start monitoring the route to the vessel, to the crew change port for visa and COVID-related changes. And we monitor that by the hour, actually. And if there is something that goes wrong, we have a red flag directly before they start moving from one point to the other. So you need to have a flagging system in place that changes this very dynamically. So it's not that you call and check one day before or 2 hours before. It needs to be much more intuitive than that. So you need a dashboard, actually.
Sure, I hear what you're saying.
So if you can just see this, I'm just trying to show this online now that one of the sections underneath the visa information, this is for a flight I've just used as an example for the UK. It gives information on testing, day 8 testing, arrival from into the UK, which countries and nationalities are required to do this, and information on filling the passenger health locator form for the UK. All these details are here underneath the visa information.
You take the example with China, for instance. You have a vessel in dry dock. You can send superintendent to the ship, but you can't send the crew to the ship. How do you solve it? And it's dynamically changing every day.
Sure. Well, again, we're dependent upon what the regulations are for any given country. That their regulations. We can only display the information and offer you the most strategic way to get there with flights. I'm not claiming that our flight at sea system can solve every problem, particularly as it relates to COVID.
Sorry, Cuba, there's one more question. Have you considered to include the service of quarantine facilities in the point of departure and the point of arrival with security guards around the people in quarantine?
Well, there are literally dozens of different ancillaries that could be added to any system. I mean, you can add, we don't offer cars, we don't offer hotels. We certainly do not offer guard services or quarantine services with the platform. It is set to be the best methodology to book the flights to and from a vessel for a crew change. It's not going to do that service that you're asking. That would be something that you would have to arrange in conjunction with the flights. In other words, once the flights are booked, then a third party or even one of our partners would be able to step in and take the crew manifest and work with it from that point.
Okay, judging from these questions, as you can see, this becomes a discussion, which is excellent because it shows you where the appetite really is, especially from operators who are very sophisticated operators and running, multiple fleets and numbers here as well. But I love that actually, and I'm delighted that InterManager can be a platform for that kind of discussion. Any other questions here? Anybody else had something? No. Very good. I think devil sleeps in details, always does. And especially when it comes to travel, as we said, if we could organize environment which is as good as it can get, then it's excellent. Also, I believe sharing information and showing what people can do now makes a big difference, especially for big ones, the big boys who are doing nothing but travel. It's probably nothing new. But for our smaller members, it might be inspiration, and it might show them they should be using you guys instead of asking their own personnel, being on a website and trying to do what you guys are doing, and maybe not being 24/7 and not having this and so on and so forth. For everybody on this call, I do work with Joe quite a lot, and especially when it comes to our pooling resources information, people like Joe and Chris here are my fallback position basically, because they do nothing but crew changes in a way. So very often I would have either phone call from Joe. Joe is very good actually on the phone. He calls me immediately halfway through my meeting sometimes, and I have to tell him to get lost, and then I'll call him back. But that's what it is. When he sees things happening, then I've got a huge feedback immediately. And remember, we do work with others as well. So that's the strength, I believe. And I would like to thank both Chris and Joe today for sharing that with us, being open, showing how it works. I hope you will have some phone calls afterwards. And for those of you who do not know how to reach to Joe or Chris, drop me a line and I will direct you. Gentlemen, thank you. Nice one, as you can see, 15 minutes questions. That's not too bad, actually, if you think about it. So you stirred the proverbial, and we found the umbrellas. So good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Kuba.
Thank you
everybody.
very much.
Thank you. It looks like we may end up earlier on today. I am opening the floor for members. Any other questions, any issues you would like me to take, which we have not mentioned today, but you believe I should be engaging and I should get my homework and talk to our network people to help you with other issues which are brewing at the moment. I can only share with you very sad news. We had a 61-year-old master dying in his cabin during the night, and now we've got a problem to offload his body. Again, because nobody wants to touch it. And obviously nobody knows why he died. He had been fully ENG1, so very healthy gentleman who was running marathons. So one of the guys you would never expect to die overnight. And chief officer was calling him because he was supposed to come 7:30 into the bridge. No response. They went into the cabin and he was fast asleep forever. So very, very sad. We are involved in that now, trying, but we had the situation from other members. This continues to be an issue, unfortunately. Not COVID related, by the way. It doesn't look like COVID at all. It's just COVID related because we can't offload corpse. So any other issues, ladies and gentlemen, which you believe I need to take care of? No? No. Okay, therefore I would announce this meeting as closed. Thank you very much. Watch out for next one. All the best. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cuba. Thanks. Bye.